Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today I'm going to have a conversation with you a little bit. It's very broad. It's going to cover a lot of areas, and this is the subject of luck, and more importantly, how to take advantage of luck. So I'm going to use some analogies to cover this subject, but I'm also going to play it into some specific areas such as investing. And in this, we're going to discuss why it is the S&P 500 tends to perform so well. And so there's a few things that we can learn from that. Before we do that, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We really appreciate your subscriptions. Thank you very much. And if you'd like help with international structuring, international tax planning, relocating abroad, setting yourself up abroad, basically going offshore the legal way, please reach out to me. You can book a call, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer, link in the description below, or send us a message through our websites, offshorecitizen.net, offshorecapitalist.com. Okay. So luck plays a much bigger role in success than a lot of people like to believe, right? I certainly, for a very long time, would have liked to have attributed, my accomplishments to, my grit and hard work and dedication and intelligence and all these different things. Of course, those things themselves were arguably influenced by something else. And so, anyway, that's a whole other conversation. The point for today's conversation is, how do we benefit from this? How do we maximize our benefit? And the analogy I'm going to use, what the inspiration for this conversation was I was having a conversation with a friend and client about the subject of hiring, okay? Now, the truth is that hiring is really, really, really difficult to get right with high probability. What do I mean by that? The likelihood that if you're given 100 applicants that you will choose the best of those 100 applicants is extremely low. In fact, even the idea that applicants will work out is fairly low. I have a good friend and client, I've known him for many years, and he told me, he's like, hey, listen, I've just kind of realized I have to hire 4 people for one to work out. And that's an interesting way of looking at it. So there's all kinds of different hiring strategies you can do, and I used to own a recruiting company back in the day, and I would read books and develop theories and all this kind of thing. But the reality is that no matter how good you get at that, there is a probability to it. Now, hopefully you learn to improve the probability, but that's not what we were talking about here. What we were talking about here was there's a lot to be said for the cumulative effects of luck. So what do I mean by this? Well, normally if you just say are betting your whole hand on the toss of a coin, then you're basically going to be neutral. Actually, you're going to end up at 0 but let's just say that you were betting, 10%, right? So no matter what happens, you bet 10% one way or another, you flip a coin, 50% you win, 50% you lose, you're going to tend to stay even, although you actually slightly drift downwards in that particular case because you lose more on the 10% than you gain. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation of the math. The point is you get this general sense that because you win and you lose more or less equally, that you're in a situation where, hey, that's not going to work out for me. Okay, so I think that a lot of people think of luck in this way. And that, I think, is not really the best way to look at it. Because if I think of it differently and I try and take action where I cumulatively gain something from my good luck, but I lose non-cumulatively, then I actually end up winning, right? Let's use an example. Let's say that I hire somebody. Let's just say it's a 50-50 chance they work out. Okay, they don't work out, they get fired, they leave, whatever happens, they're gone. Okay, now I hire the next person, 50-50 chance they work out. Let's say this time they do work out. Well, what happens here? Now I keep them with me. And, I can work on their loyalty, and I can work on retaining them, and we can build a good relationship, and, I can compensate them well, and all these different things so that we have a 5-year relationship, right? Let's say that's how long, because obviously nobody's going to remain working for you forever. Well, if you do that through various different cycles, what it costs you when you're wrong is minimal compared to what you gain when you're right. And something similar happens with investing, right? I can place a bet, and if it turns out it loses, and okay, great, I lost out, that's not such a big thing if I don't lose much. And by contrast, if I win, but it compounds then over the next 20 years, let's use as an example, say you'd bought Amazon, right? We bought Amazon in, let's say you bought it in, when it first went public, late 90s, right? You did really well on that one win, right? That one win pays for many, many, many losses. And so I think we want to take kind of this similar approach. We want to take it in a few different areas. We can take it obviously in relationships, right? You date a bunch of people and you get married to one person. Hopefully you stay with them for, hopefully for life, but, a long period of time, and that's a very beneficial relationship. We take it with our hiring practices, kind of the same sort of idea. We just don't get married, right? We take it with our investing, where we say, hey, listen, I'm not so worried about taking losses. If I can afford to take the losses, and if the gains continue onward and compound over time. So this informs our investing decisions, right? It informs us, hey, listen, we only want to take investments that have compounding potential, right? We only want to invest in things that can go 100x. Maybe it'll take them 10, 20, 30 years to go 100x, but they have that potential, because then the losers, we can have a lot of losers compensated for by that one winner. And that's kind of asymmetric risk to reward, but it's also the idea that you have to stick with it in order for those numbers to work out. Next is traveling around and going to different countries. So one of the things I give people advice about if you're going to relocate to one part of the world or another is maybe you should go there first. And I had a call with a client the other day. He was asking me, hey, listen, what are the places you recommend? And I was like, these places here probably aren't for you, but you should probably go visit them anyway. It's just a great thing to go visit them. First of all, your life is going to be richer because you go to some other place. You're going to see some things you didn't know before. You're going to learn some things you didn't know. What's the cost? Let's say that it costs you a few $1,000s to go and take a trip to some new country. Really, in the grand scheme of things, is that a big deal? No, it's not a big deal. You're going to make it back, right? If, on the other hand, you go and you have a lifetime experience and you like the place and you stay there and you meet some people and all these different things, what's the outcome of that? That's a big outcome, right? So what I'm saying about this is it pays off to do small-scale tests, many, many small-scale tests, to find the ones that work for you. And sometimes this is financial. Sometimes this is, relationship-wise. Sometimes it's places to live. And so I really want to encourage everybody to make a point in your life over the next year or so, well, heck, for the rest of your life probably, but you can do it in the immediate, is to say, hey, listen, what are some small things that I can just go and check out? It's the same kind of logic that I give for some of these investments where I'll say, hey, listen, go and try out some cryptocurrency thing. Do you have to use it? Do you have to invest in it? Do you have to believe in it? No. But if you go and try sending some Bitcoin from some person to another, if you go and try connecting an Ethereum wallet to MetaMask and swapping on Uniswap from one asset to another, you get this experience of it, right? And maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't work for you. Who cares? The point is, you have a little bit of a richer life and a richer experience for that. And from that place, you can be much more informed about other opportunities, and you're going to bring your other experiences in ways that coalesce and produce results that probably no people other than you are going to have, because you have a unique set of background and unique set of environment that you're going to encounter, and those two are not going to match the same as somebody else. So anyway, that's the basic concept for today. Is just, I guess we can talk about the S&P 500, because I did mention that. Why does the S&P 500 tend to do so well? Well, a big part of the reason is it has a survivorship bias, right? The companies in the S&P 500 do not remain the same. As companies drop out, they get kicked out and new ones come in. And so you're constantly cycling the top 500 companies, in this case in the US. And, so the top 500 do well and the bottom 500 probably don't do well. We see something similar, by the way, with the skewed wealth inequality statistics that you'll see. So this is something that people get wrong, is they'll say, hey, listen, over the past, since let's say 1973, the bottom quartile of the population has done very badly, or the bottom quintile. The top quintile has done very well. What they don't tell you is those are not the same people, meaning that somebody rarely stays in the same quintile their whole life. Many people who are in the top quintile at one point in their life end up cycling lower, and many people who are in the bottom quintile end up cycling higher. So although it's not necessarily a good thing, in fact, it's arguably a bad thing that the bottom quintile would do worse than they were doing historically, it's not as though that's the same static group of people who are staying there. Rather, probably a lot of the people you were measuring in the bottom quintile 20 years ago are, 2 or 3 quintiles up today. And so you get this different circulation pattern. So it's worth understanding. Anyway, I hope that helps. I hope it's an interesting topic. It's probably not something we like to hear about, the effects of life, of luck in our life. But I do think if we're honest about it, we realize, hey, listen, luck does play a big role. Then we can turn around and say, okay, great. Well, how do I use that to my advantage? And this is one way to use it to your advantage is, hey, listen, try lots of things. The things that work well, stick with them. The ones that don't, cycle them out. By the way, you can do that for food too. Which foods do I like? Try a bunch of things, cycle out the ones you don't like, keep the ones you do. But it's not good if you stop experimenting. I hope that helps. If you guys are interested, I have this other podcast, the Solutions Podcast. You can go and check it out. It's on YouTube. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you guys on the next video.